Right. So I'm interested in finding out what you think economics is as an academic subject for study.
Right, well, the most interesting definition I've heard is that economics is what economists do. I guess because everyone has a different interpretation of what the boundaries of the subject are, and there are constantly being new concepts and areas added, like the expansion in behavioural economics. The position that I see economics holding in the academic arena is, if you imagine a triangle with politics on one corner, businesses on another, and households and consumers on the third, then study of politics helps us understand what goes on in the government's corner. Things like business studies help us understand that corner, and subjects like sociology and psychology help us understand how the households and consumers, people like us, work. And then I think economics helps us to understand the relations between the 3 points of the triangle and its relationship with the outside world in terms of how and why decisions are made and how we back them up.
Okay, that's very interesting. I just want to take you back to something you said right at the start there. You quoted the saying that economics is what economists do. Do you know anything about the person who coined that phrase?
Yes, it was Jacob Viner, I think.
Yes, you're right.
He was a Canadian economist. He was active in the first part of the 20th century, and he contributed a significant amount of knowledge to international trade theory. He created the concepts of trade creation and trade diversion.
Yes, you're right on that. Might you be able to briefly outline for me what is meant by trade diversion and whether you think it's a useful concept or not?
Okay. Well, it's to do with whether it's better or worse to be a member of a free trade area compared to not being a member. So trade diversion is about having to buy your goods from a free trade area rather than from where you previously bought it, even though it's more expensive. So I think it's a useful concept in acknowledging that free trade isn't 100% beneficial.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a strong enough counter-argument on its own. I think it depends on the size of the free trade area itself and the power of the area in the global economy.
Fantastic. Okay. That was a lovely explanation there. Let's change tack now. What do you understand by rationality?
I would take it as a weighing up of the pros and cons of a decision, aiming to maximise benefits and minimise costs, taking into account all available information. And about the past, present and future in order to reach that decision.
Lovely. Okay, right. So how might you, for example, apply that concept of rationality to a scenario where a firefighter chooses to enter a burning building in order to look for survivors and casualties?
Right. Well, I think the best way of going about that would be to think about the benefits and costs that go into making that decision, given the information available.
Okay, can you talk me through that?
So, for the firefighter, obviously there's a potential cost that he or she could lose his life or be seriously injured. But it's difficult to put a value on that without actually entering the building. It costs money to send a fire engine out to deal with the emergency. There would be the sunk costs of the firefighter's training. And also, there could be an opportunity cost because the firefighter could be doing something else, rescuing an old lady's cat up a tree or something. So I think the actual financial costs are quite high. In terms of benefits, obviously the firefighter receives a salary, but I think to do a job like that, there must be some kind of non-monetary satisfaction. So a government can't be seen to think it acceptable to let people die in fires just because they don't have enough money to deal with it. So I think the question of rationality boils down to some normative judgments. The firefighter wouldn't enter the building if he didn't think it was worthwhile for him to do it, both financially and in terms of getting that non-monetary satisfaction. Adam Smith would say that all decisions are only made in people's self-interest and it's irrational to act otherwise. But I think in reality there's a mixture of rational self-interest and what might seem irrational lack of fear to others.
Okay, there's definitely some interesting points there and some food for thought. Okay, we're going to move on to some maths now. Would you be able to draw for me the graph of x squared plus y squared equals 1? There's some paper on the side there for you.
I haven't seen that before. Can I have a bit of time to think about
absolutely.
it? Well, I think one way of doing this would be to think about some points to plot. So if you set x and y as 0 in turn, that should be quite easy to solve for the other variables. So if x is 0, then y equals 1 or minus 1.
Right.
So that's 2 points. And the same happens if you set y as 0, then x is 1 or minus 1.
Mm-hmm.
So we can plot 4 points now. Now that could be the graph of a diamond, but no, that can't work, because if I set something like a point 0.5, 0.5, those squared wouldn't equal 1.
Right.
So I would guess that it's the equation of a circle.
That's great. Well deduced. You're absolutely right. It's the equation of a circle with a radius of 1 centred on the origin. Thank you very much. Those were all the questions that I had for you today.